Butter, I wish you a lot of luck. But I hereby grant you a full and complete pardon.
Have you ever wondered why the president has unlimited power to pardon criminals with almost no way of limiting it? We asked Jason Whitehead, an associate professor of political science at CSULB, about the history of presidential pardons, and here's what he told us.
English king or queen had this power mainly the purpose of the power was to grant mercy.
One example of that is Harry Truman's president. The White House is under renovation, so he's living across the street in Blair House, and these Puerto Rican nationalists try to murder him. They go in, they kill a security guard, and one of the two guys named Oscar Collazo is sentenced to death for trying to assassinate the president and killing the guard. And Truman commutes his death sentence. And that's really an act of grace, to the person who's trying to kill you, to give him clemency. That's pretty selfless, and I think that was an admirable use.
That was Mark Osler, law professor and former state prosecutor as well as federal prosecutor. Now here's what he has to say about the founding fathers and their concerns on the pardon power.
Well, some of their concerns are things that are being raised right now. That there were people at the Constitutional Convention who raised the possibility that the president and his close Confederates could be involved in treason, and that goes with risk. And they knew that presidents would use it based on their own principles, and that those principles were going to vary from president to president. And they counted on democracy to be a key check on that we would elect people who would use that responsibly.
Looking at present times, we have seen many cases that have proved their fears right, as recently presidential pardons can be viewed in a similar way to the tyrannical powers of a king in England. In this video, we will explore how the presidential pardon power is used and if it is applied in a fair and just manner.
So this is January 6th. These are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon. Yes. Full pardon. They're expecting it.
One notorious set of pardons is the January 6 pardons, which included a full pardon by President Trump of more than 1,500 individuals accused of participating in a riot at the Capitol. During the riots, 5 people were killed and countless more sent to hospital due to injury. When looking at this series of pardons, it is difficult to see an ethical reason for the pardons, considering most of the rioters who were pardoned committed serious criminal acts.
What ways could it be questionable?
Certainly Joe Biden's really broad pardon of Hunter, his son, was harshly criticized and probably should have been, especially since he promised not to do that.
I'm extremely proud of my son Hunter. He has overcome an addiction. He's one of the brightest, most decent men I know, and I am satisfied that I'm not going to do anything. I said I abide by the jury decision, and I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
In addition, President Joe Biden pardoned his own son Hunter Biden, who faced federal gun charges as well as charges of tax evasion worth more than $1.4 million. Critics use this as an example to show how pardons can be used unfairly and show bias towards family. This is often seen as an abuse of power, as pardons were intended to serve as a tool of mercy to punishments that were too harsh, not whenever your own son gets federally charged. Although these pardons were legal, these scenarios were not how the framers intended the power to be used. Presidential pardons are still necessary because they can be used to correct injustice in the courts and promote unity in the country.
With the young men who had gone to Canada during the Vietnam War, there were a lot of things like that I had to face, but I knew pretty well what I wanted to do.
Are you glad that you pardoned those people that went to Canada, the draft evaders?
Yes, I am.
Jimmy Carter, who granted the amnesty to tens of thousands of draft dodgers, went to the Naval Academy and served in the Navy in war. in a nuclear sub when those things were first being developed. A huge, uncomfortable, risky service, and yet here he was, you know, giving a benefit to people who avoided the draft. Really showed an act of of mercy, and there's an aspect of the heart in it that it's hard not to admire.
As shown in the scenario with President Carter, pardons can be used in a beneficial way, like bringing the country together and moving forward, instead of being resentful about past actions. The Founding Fathers would agree with using the pardon power for unity and moving the country forward. The original intent of the presidential pardon was to provide a tool to show mercy. In contrast, modern examples can show how presidents use the power unfairly and with bias. In conclusion, if the president uses king-like powers not for grace and mercy, but instead in an unfair and unjust manner, then it is truly a king-like power.